3 months after leaving Egypt, the Israelites arrived at the foot of Mount Sinai. There, they pitched their tents and prepared for a more permanent camp. It was on this mountain that Moses had first spoken to God in the burning bush. God called to Moses from the mountain and said, "These people are a treasure to me. I'm going to make them a holy nation. Tell them to cleanse themselves and wash their clothes and to prepare their minds. For in 3 days they will see my glory on this mountain. Set a boundary around the mountain so that no person or animal touches it while I am here." God's people did as they were told, and they were waiting and praying when the 3rd day arrived. Then suddenly there was lightning and thunder showering down on the top of the mountain. A large cloud settled on top and smoke began pouring forth as though it was on fire. The people felt the vibrations because the mountain was trembling. A sound of trumpets came louder and louder until the people held one another in fear before this marvelous God. Then out of the cloud came the voice of God, announcing himself so that all could hear. "I am the Lord your God who brought you out of the land of Egypt where you were held in bondage." Then God gave them the rules they were to follow as his people. These rules, known as the 10 Commandments, are as follows. "You shall have no other gods before me. You shall not make idols to worship. You shall not misuse the name of the Lord your God. Remember the Sabbath day by keeping it holy. Honor your father and your mother. You shall not murder. You shall not commit adultery. You shall not steal. You shall not give false testimony against your neighbor. You shall not covet your neighbor's house. You shall not covet your neighbor's wife, or his male or female servant, or his ox or his donkey or anything that belongs to your neighbor." After God gave these rules to his people, his voice died away, and the people were still afraid. "Moses," they said to him, "let God speak to you, and you tell us what he says, for we fear his voice." Moses then began to climb to the top of the mountain with Aaron and some of the wisest and oldest Israelites. After they got close enough to see the glory of God, everyone left, leaving Moses and Joshua to face God, although Joshua stopped right before entering the cloud that was God. For 40 days and nights Moses stayed with God alone on Mount Sinai. God gave him many other rules for Israelites to follow. Most of them told how they should treat one another and how they should worship him. He also gave Moses 2 stone tablets where he had written down the 10 Commandments. The people had not expected Moses to be gone so long, and they began to think that he was not coming back. They begged Aaron to make them a god they could see. So Aaron took gold jewelry that they gave him, melted it, and shaped it into a golden calf. The Israelites were delighted with the idol, and they declared a feast day and began worshipping with songs and games, the same way they had seen the Egyptians do. When Moses and Joshua were coming down the mountain, they heard the cries of the people dancing and singing around the golden calf that Aaron had made. As Moses drew closer to the camp and caught sight of the party, he grew angry and threw down the tablets of stone, breaking them into little pieces. The Israelites were severely punished for having disobeyed God's commandment so soon. Those who started the rebellion were killed, and Moses took the calf and broke it into pieces. Then he ground that golden calf into fine dust, mixed it with water, and made the people drink some of it as part of their punishment. But Moses loved these people that he had brought from Egypt, and he went back up on the mountain to ask God to give them another chance. God did forgive them, and wrote the commandments again on new tablets of stone. Moses stayed with him for another days and talked with him as a friend, closer than any other man ever did. When he came down from the mountain, his face shone from having been so close to God. It was so radiant and bright that he had to put a veil over it when he talked with the people. Please check out more stories from the Bible daily, man.